Good morning from me as well. Welcome to Brave New Media Forum for the very first time from Yugoslav Cinematheque. As you probably know, we are going to start this journey which talks on press freedom for a reason, and we will make a few stops first in Turkey or in Germany. In a minute you will know why. Because Turkey is something that we know a lot about. Turkish culture, Turkish language and tradition is still present in this region. However, we talk about Turkey here in Western Balkans quite rarely and mainly about economics or new contracts or investments, or when major events happen like catastrophic earthquake that you all remember or presidential elections. Can Dündar is my colleague, a journalist. He's also a former Editor-in-Chief of Cumhuriyet. He's online now. Hopefully he can hear and see us. Can, you are in Germany, and the reason why you're there, you're going to correct me if I'm wrong, is you have published, or your media outlet has published, a report on Turkey being involved in arming Syrian Islamists in Syria, and this is something that in Turkey exploded as a major story, and you got in trouble. So you had to leave the country. But considering what happened, now when you look at it, I want to ask you, do you regret for doing so? Because you had to flee, your family was or is in danger, you can't really move freely. So let me ask you first, how do you feel now? How do you look at it a few years later?
No regret at all. It was our responsibility, our duty to inform the public, and we did. So I published that story, and I've been paying a heavy price for this. So they put me in jail. I was attacked by a gunman. I survived from this attack. And we lost everything. I mean, everything we have, our house, our friends, our family. So I have to live in exile. But I mean, unfortunately, that's the price you have to pay. But now I have the privilege to be here in your forum, and thank you so much for letting me meet with the frontiers of the brave new media. So already, I think it's worth it to be in a position to address you. So yes, the price was high, but still, it's important for me that I did my responsibility.
And if I'm correct, the reason why we are having you online and not here in person is that the Turkey has issued arrest warrants, so there is always a risk, depending on where you are or the countries you visit, that the authorities could arrest you and deliver you to Turkish government or the Turkish authorities.
Yeah, the Turkish government put me on the terror list, and this is the way they deal with journalists. Not only journalists, but many politicians also in the list. So Erdogan, Turkish President Erdogan, is capable of putting his rivals or opponents into this terror list, so that Interpol can, let them go back to Turkey, and especially has been used by Turkish government as like many people Balkans to Turkey, and that's why, of course, if you are challenging an autocrat like Erdogan, you have to be very careful everywhere in the world. So that's why online meetings are more secure for us.
Obviously, it would be nicer to have you here, but it's the way it is. Sorry for that. What we would definitely like to hear from you, since you kept going on, you are working from Germany. Obviously, you're not just focused on Turkey, but you at the same time you're contributing a lot to publishing or debunking false information, providing information of public interest to people in Turkey. How would you evaluate press freedom in Turkey now, based on reports by Reporters Without Borders and similar organizations? If I'm not mistaken, Turkey ranks 165 out of 180 countries, which is pretty bad. So what's the situation like now for journalists in Turkey?
First of all, Turkey has never been a paradise for journalists. We had always, difficulties and troubles, but never been a hell like the last 20 years. What Erdogan did to Turkish media is not only censor the media, not only put the journalists in jail, but both the media outlets. He encouraged close to himself to buy media outlets. Then it was almost no space for us. So the biggest mainstream media outlets were in the control of the government at the moment. So now we have to deal with not only the government, but also with the media. And it's really for the first time, media is in functioning as a propaganda machinery for the government. So, of course, they are targeting us, and they are working together with the prosecutors, police chiefs, politicians. And once you see your name on the headlines of a newspaper close to the government, your door will be knocked the other morning by the police, and you'll find yourself in jail. So this is the situation. And unfortunately, this fear in the climate is really very permanent, and you can feel it. And that's why there are less journalists comparing 5 years ago in Turkey now, something like 19. It was more than 100. The reason why is not Turkey is more democratic today, but the pressure is so high that nobody wants to go to jail. That's why self-censorship is more evident in Turkey today.
Since you're working from outside of Turkey, and as I said, not necessarily focused just on what's going on there, but it is your expertise, how hard it is to reach the audience, considering that you're outside and labeled as a terrorist?
Of course, it's difficult. Not everyone is brave enough to invite me for forums like that in Turkey. Of course, when you are branded as terrorist or traitor, everybody is, so distant to you, and it's first of all, it's very difficult to find people to work with. So it's dangerous to work with us. So without reporters, how can you report? And finding support, financing your business is, of course, also almost impossible. Reaching the authorities, asking for an interview or double checking is almost impossible. How can you reach the authorities while they are branding you as terrorists? And of course, reaching the audience as well. I mean, they are reluctant to even click your website or download something from you. They thought it could be dangerous. But against all odds, still, there are millions of people watching our YouTube videos, thanks God. And in the lack of free media in Turkey, they are just trying to get the truth from our news coverage.
Would you say that, considering what's going on there and the situation regarding press freedom is not improving? On contrary, we have ups and downs depending on the events there. Would you say that the interest among young people who are not necessarily into journalism but present on social media is still on a sensible level in terms of, debunking false information, sharing actual truth? Or are you worried about younger generations that they're slowly giving up and focusing on something that can ensure easy life?
I cannot generalize this because there are some youngsters who don't care what's going on in the rest of the world, but they are very sensitive new generation that I trust. The funny thing is, Erdogan invested a lot into buying media outlets like newspapers and big TV stations, but thanks, surprisingly, new generation, they don't have any interest on those, and they have their own media, which is social media, and we are very active there on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. So all of a sudden, we have our own media outlets there, which is difficult to intervene by the government. That's why we have the opportunity to meet with young generations here. Even TikTok, we are even trying to reach them via TikTok now. So wherever they are, we have to go there, we have to be there. And it's let me put it this way, we had huge armies of reporters, big headquarters 20 years ago. All of a sudden now, without this regular armies, we are doing a kind of a guerrilla war and for information, for truth. Um, and the government, they don't know how to fight against this.
Mm-hmm. How about yourself? You are old school as myself. So are you
That's right.
are you using social media to reach the audience? I know that you work closely with Correctiv. Yeah, it's a German outlet, but that's not the only thing that you're doing. So what's your experience so far? Are you also sharing information of public interest there on TikTok or Instagram?
I'm kind of lucky that I discovered the importance of social media very early, and now I have more than 5 million followers on Twitter, so I can reach young generations, even if I'm from old school. But learning new techniques, following it's really getting more harder. For example, recently I've been trying to learn the language of TikTok, which is completely different than ours. So I was planning to get more sophisticated, but now I'm trying to get my message in 1 minute. It's almost impossible for people like me, but we have to learn this language. We have to we have to use every channel that we can use to reach the young audience.
Mm-hmm. We're slowly turning to one of the points that we agreed to talk about, and that is, if possible, having constructive approach in this fight for press freedom also in Turkey. You're doing a lot. You have also a lot of colleagues on board. What do you think that, first of all, we journalists can and should do to improve a situation in not just in Turkey, but obviously in Western Balkans too? Is there anything based on your experience while being outside of your homeland could help to achieve these goals? Do you believe that this goal is achievable at all?
It is. It is definitely. We are living in in a very difficult age, and our rights are under attack by the autocratic regimes all over the world. So we are under a global attack. So our response should be global as well. So that means solidarity. That means cooperation. That means collaboration among the journalists. So we cannot just cope with them locally. So we need organizations, more networking organizations. So my colleagues are lucky that now at the moment they are in such a cooperation attempt. So this is very important because the autocrats are learning from each other and they are copying each other. So in return, we have to learn from each other, from our experiences. We have to work together. So there are some initiatives in Western world, like, for example, Forbidden Story is one of them. So whatever happened to you in your country, you are censored, you are put in jail. Some other journalists coming together to follow up your story. So this is a message to the governments: you arrest, they arrest. the journalists that if they put a journalist in jail, there'll be others to follow up the story. And it's a clear message to the journalist in jail that he or she is not alone. So this kind of cooperation should save the truth. So I guess it is essential to come together in such a network. And this will be the future of journalism.
Mm-hmm. You already mentioned the number or the great number of journalists behind bars in Turkey. We don't necessarily need to focus on that, even though I would like to share that information that Turkey is currently 4th on the list based on numbers of reporters that Turkish government is keeping behind bars. But let's end this conversation still with some positive thoughts. And we already mentioned younger generations using social media. What would be your message or encouragement for the future generations of journalists, even though we might not have to call them that way because journalism and journalists, it doesn't seem to be a buzzword anymore. So you're either influencer or a TikToker or an Instagrammer. We don't mind as long as we're reaching goals. So what is your message to all these younger generations that are, trying or thinking about changing the world?
Journalism has never been so dangerous and risky. It's not a positive start, I know, but we know all this. So it's really risky. We are under attack globally, and there are censorship attacks towards journalists, even in the US. So it is maybe one of the most difficult times in our history. But on the other hand, it has never been so important. As the civil society is giving up, as many countries, the democracy is failing, the knowing the truth, defending the truth, discovering the truth, sharing the truth is essential. And if we want our democracies to stay alive, we need truthful information, trustable information. And for the first time in our history, in mankind's history, you have the opportunity to do your own business with these phones. So you are the publisher, you are the broadcaster all alone. You can just put your phone and start talking. And we have never seen something like this. It's a huge opportunity. It's a big freedom. You can challenge, you can share, you can cooperate. So use this opportunity. And journalism is the best profession in the world today. And you can challenge the big giants only by saying your views via this phone. This is huge opportunity, and please use it. Be brave, challenge the authorities, defend democracy.
Thank you, Can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Great way to end this talk. Thank you for all the insights on press freedom and everything you shared, and good luck in your future work. We'll be in touch anyway. For you who are here or watching our live stream, stay where you are, because we're going to continue this part of the program dedicated to press freedom, visiting virtually another country, and that is Myanmar.